Ronnie Ann bit her lip to hold her tongue where it fiercely was glaring at Lynn. As much as she wanted to badmouth the meathead sports fanatic, and while she still hated to admit it, Miss Sporty still had a point. In most cases, Ronnie Ann knew that she could have hit a punch a couple of the bullies, even though if anyone with some knowledge on how to trade blows correctly, it would still be somewhat of a battle of endurance. Granted, in the few fights she had helped out build the rep that she had right now, but if she could end the fight as quickly as snapping her fingers, that would do a lot of good, not just for her, but for Lincoln as well, if he doesn't get over his fears anytime soon. Without uttering another word, Ronalda then turned her around before pointing towards her ponytail. Lynn smirked a little before stepping up and fiddled with the girl's hair. Since Ronnie Ann had no longer hair, Lynn couldn't just fold it into a scrunchie like she would. So she formed it into a small bun on the center of the Hispanic tomboy's head. There, that wasn't so hard, was it? Lynn joked. She nearly went into a fit of giggles when Ronalda flipped the bird at her. Slipping the pads back on, she patted them together so they would make the popping sound. Crouching slightly, Lynn dug her feet into the ground for what she had planned next. All right, now give me your best punch. Ronalda raised a brow, putting a hand to her hip. My best punch? Yeah, I need to see how strong you were when you were angry, so now I know I need to work with. Just think of something that makes you mad, that you want to demolish as well. The 11-year-old pursed her lips, staring off into space. Well, I did throw my nightstand out the window the same night I found out Lincoln was in the hospital. Weak. Nightstands aren't that heavy. It still had my clothes in it. Well, when I'm done with you, you'll be able to lift a full dresser of clothes. Now concentrate, Lynn ordered. Use that anger to fuel your force of hits. Ronalda hummed, thinking back to how she felt that evening. Her blood was boiling. Red-faced Fury had an enormous need to beat the Louds into pace, as she thought what they did was on purpose, or they felt no sympathy. And she had thought about her fight with Lynn. How, admitting she broke Lincoln's arm, bent over the edge. The girl's face started to contort a little as the anger was building. But then it began to pepper off as Ronalda thought about what had happened with the last 2 weeks. She had a better understanding of how the Loud siblings really felt. And while the 11-year-old still hadn't forgiven them, she wasn't necessarily angry at them anymore. Dang it, Ronalda, focus! You're supposed to be angry, not mellow, the Queen of Pain hissed internally. Searching for her memories, Ronnie Ann then looked past the recent events to find a much older that still held significance. Diving back to a few years ago, she came across a really bad memory of a certain incident in grade 2. It was coming from her like it was just yesterday. The bullies, the food throwing, the humiliation, and the crying. The Hispanic girl's left eye twitched as she began to shiver, and with Lynn growing a little confused as to what she was doing, a small tear escaped Ronnie Ann's eye. Before that emotion Lynn was looking for finally began to manifest. The Queen of Pain started to grind her teeth, while she became a reddish tint. Her hands formed into tight fists, and that's when those eyes filled with fury and settled on to Lynn. A low growl escaped from the Hispanic girl, as if she was ready to pounce. Snorting slightly, Lynn raised the pads up, slightly hoping Ronnie Ann targeted those and not her face. In the span of 15 seconds, Ronalda ran forward with a hate-filled roar and punched and pounded away at the pads. Lynn's entire body shook from the force of each hit, and the sound of the fist meeting the pad reverberating sound into the yard. To Lynn's surprise, Ronnie Ann even had a kick to the mix, although it was a little sloppy in her opinion. As soon as it started, it stopped with Ronnie Ann landing the last one to Lynn's padded hands. The younger tomboy panted with a sweat dripped from her forehead, her arms falling limp to her knees to keep herself upright as the cost of overexerting herself took its toll. Lynn patted Ronalda on the head with her padded hands. Not bad. I only said one punch, but I was impressed a bit. But if you get tired that easily after the little display, then we really need to work on your endurance. You could also you could use the work too. My hand hurts. Ronaldo finally spoke. If you didn't have that much tape on, they'd be hurting even more. And speaking of which, first thing we're going to start with is how you should be punching without throwing yourself out too much. Hang in there for a second. I will go and get us some water. Lynn finished up and she ditched the pads and went inside the kitchen. Ronaldo brought her hands up before pulling her upper body went straight up. The 11-year-old couldn't shake the feeling that she was going to be put through some sort of boot camp training. She stared up at the clouds moving into the sky. What the heck did I even sign up for? The Queen of Pain uttered in Spanish.